I often talk about this phrase, may all beings be happy. But what is happiness? I think I'll just go back to what Buddha may have said. Life is suffering, and there's a way out of suffering. So, when there is no suffering, I think I'll call that state awakened, even possibly blissful, or technically speaking, this is my logic mind saying, if we are with the way of nature, that's it. We are born from the way of nature. We die with the way of nature. We live with the way of nature as the core. And if we are connected, what more would there be? And I believe Buddha's teaching and many religions, the term God may be replaced by the way of nature. Maybe I'm stretching out a little bit because I don't want to get into the discussion, religion difference, because the difference is based upon our mind and brain, and that's why going back to the root of who we are, at the heart, way of nature, is when everything is. Even before we die, before we live, while we live, or after we die, I guess. You cannot do anything about it. In Zen, they like to use the word like nothingness, which kind of a point nothing in your mind, beyond your mind. The mind creates things, good and bad, right and wrong, and suffering and happiness. But ultimate is, in my view, the way of nature, the absolute state of being. And I call it, what did I say? My eternal home. So it is heartfelt, direct experience beyond logic. But we are using the word and logic to communicate. But ultimately, it's just the experiencing of it, not in the mind. Mind may pick up some element to describe or point what happiness or no delusion, no suffering state or absolute state of being. When we are little, baby, kid, mind's not as developed, so you can call them, they are still in the Garden of Eden when they are born. Technically, where to precisely point the timing, I'm not sure if it's meaningful. But those are the moments perhaps we cannot retrieve the memory from the mind. So there's emptiness of the memory when we are so little. So whatever is in the mind is just a creation of a situation that we characterize by words and logic so that we can communicate verbally. But they cannot communicate the ultimate state of being. And I think that's the reason why Buddha is known that he didn't think that he can talk about it. But the gods came to ask Buddha to talk. That's the story. Whatever the story, however way it was developed, it's just like a paradox of the mind to talk about something beyond words and logic. It's just the state of being. And when you have the state of being as the core of our being and awaken to it, there's nothing more. So it's nothingness. One way I also thought about whether this is going to help or not, when we have ups and downs in emotion, and we may be happy at certain level, but that happiness may not last long. As time passes, it would settle at certain level. So over time, everything's up and down is like the average or medium, you call it. Nothing end up being cancels out. Or what is nothing, that state of being, if we have that, then what we see is the fluctuation, like we see in the mirror of our minds moving up and down. Because you are stable, therefore you are not driven by momentary happiness or unhappiness. So it's difficult to say that's the state of happiness, because happiness implies there's unhappiness, but happiness in the sense of nature's way of being, always at the core, as the way of universe, where we came from. Our mind is moving up and down, communicating, so that we as a human, as a group, we can do something interesting, but can be also dangerous depending upon how we use the word and logic. It's the two-edged sword, and AI is on top of the two-edged sword, extension of our brain. We have to be careful, not looking forward and upward with AI of what can be done, but what the root of who we are. If we use that, you're just fluctuating in your mind. So as Daisetsu said, the key is to realize the peace in our mind. And when you have the peace, you don't have to worry or regret or anything, because you are at peace with yourself, with your core being of who you are. Core being of who we are. What a statement. But that's what it is. There is that state of being, not what goes on in our mind, good and bad, right and wrong. So, I want to see me, ego. I want to see myself being able to not lose the core state of being and make the right judgment. Hopefully bring out wisdom, compassion, or truth to live life. Beyond the fame, wealth, money, competition, time, and all the emotions. Maybe I said too much, I don't know. But I was just reading briefly. There's the book about happiness by Russell. I think I read the Hilty was his name. I forgot his name. That people talk about happiness. It's different from the Buddha's way. Not saying what Buddha says is always right, or I just there's something I find it very interesting to make me feel beyond word that there's peace. Just a thought. Thank you.